If you would have $200 to spend on any watch you want, what would be your choice? Mine would be this one. Hello, today I welcome you to my world of watches, and in this video I want to discuss the Orient Kamasu. Want heritage? There you go. An in-house automatic hack and hand winding movement? There you go. A beautiful timeless design? There you go. A sapphire crystal? There you go. A great build quality? This watch has it all. This watch has been documented through various different videos, but I feel like it will never get enough attention as it is just truly amazing on what you get for $200. The message of how great this timepiece is has to be spread. The heritage, the materials, the overall design, they all combine to create a beautiful timepiece. This watch has been a grail of mine for a very long time, and now I finally have a chance to own it and review it to you. And yes, indeed, it was bought from AliExpress, and yes, it is original. It came from Spain, not from China. So let me briefly walk you through this creation and show you just why I love it so much. Orient gives you a very nice presentable box made out of this fox leather, and on the front there is a thin plate with an Orient logo, so they do really pay attention. Even if the box is not of importance to many, it still gives a more pleasant experience, and if you, for example, decide to give this watch as a gift to someone, it will be a nice addition. Before I show you the most beautiful thing about this watch, I want to address the measurements. It is 42mm in diameter, 47mm lug to lug, 22mm lug width. The bracelet tapers down to 20mm at the clasp, 13mm thick, and sized up for my 7-inch wrist, it weighs 157 grams. Even though I would say this watch is a little bit for the bigger wristed, 42mm with this design works very good. As I'm a taller guy, it doesn't appear too big on my wrist, and in general this type of a design may also apply for smaller wrists too. In my opinion, the proportions of this watch are just great. Right now I would normally go on about the bracelet, then the finishes and so on, but since this dial is so gorgeous, I'll start from it. There are multiple different dial colors that you can choose from that you are seeing right now on the screen, but I opted for this green/emerald color as for me it seemed like it is the most interesting one and the dial has the most character in my opinion. What I love about it is the effect that it gives in the right lighting. When there's no light, there's really not much to see as the dial appears black, but when the light hits it just right, there's just an array of colors that are presented. In direct sunlight, you can't really guess which color will be present, but sometimes it appears greenish and sometimes you get a blue tint on it. I just love the subtleness of it as it doesn't really stand out that much, but when you take a glance at it, the different shades kind of warm you up, especially in these cold winter days when there's not much color around. This watch helps in a sense. With all of this, the white and silver color that pretty much dominates the whole design really fits it. I like the shape of the indices they went with, and they didn't just slap on the regular ones, but rather they went with this narrowing down towards the end type. The arrow-shaped hour hand as well as the sword-shaped minute hand really suit not only the design but the Kamasu name as well, which in fact has nothing to do with Japanese martial arts, samurai fighters type of thing like I thought for some reason. It is actually inspired by a fearsome barracuda, and the hands as well as the indices are supposed to resemble the teeth of this creature. Another nice detail is the second hand, which reaches the whole dial, and the red tip matches beautifully with a little spectacle of red in the Orient logo, which also shines beautifully as it is highly polished. Then there is the day-date window, which is located conveniently at 3 o'clock, and again it has a nice polished outline. And lastly, I want to appreciate that they didn't go too strong on the writings. There is the Orient logo on the top as well as the name and automatic just below that, and on the bottom of the dial there is the water resist and 20 bar that indicate that this is indeed a dive watch in the first place. Camera doesn't really do favors to this dial as you really have to see it in person in order to soak in all the beauty that it has. I like the fact that it is accompanied with equally as beautiful green aluminum bezel. Again, not your regular design, it has indentations which adds to the uniqueness of the watch. It is 120 click unidirectional proper dive style bezel with a Lume pip, so it is not just made to look good, but it also serves a very important purpose if you really want to dive with this watch on, for which it is made for. Older divers of Orient, such as the Mako 2 for example, have a poor action on the bezel. It is really hard to turn them, but on this Kamasu everything is just spot on. The clicks sound nice and it performs how it should. I don't want to go far from the front of this watch, as I want to acknowledge the fact that indeed it has a true sapphire crystal from the factory. Everything is original. I state this because it is very rare to see a watch with a sapphire crystal with a price so small that comes not from China. Seiko, which is also a Japanese brand, doesn't have anything even near these specifications for $200 in their catalog. It is very nice to see that a well-established Japanese watch manufacturer actually cares to give the customers a good bang for their buck, and they probably know that even without the sapphire crystal, this watch would sell as hotcakes for the same $200, but they decided to include the sapphire as it is a nice addition to the watch and it also pleases the buyer. The finishes, though very simple, are actually quite nice on this timepiece. You won't get any intricate brushing or polishing. It is pretty straightforward. The top of the lugs is finely brushed and the sides are highly polished. The rim on the bezel is also highly polished, so it all dances very nicely in the light, and there's also a signed crown, which is a lovely touch. Now, coming down to the bracelet, I really don't have many positive things to say about it. If you're planning to buy this watch, I would highly recommend you to actually buy a different bracelet and immediately swap it out. It's really not great. It doesn't come flush with the case, the end links are not solid, the bracelet rattles a lot, the clasp is just a simple folded metal one, and just in general it doesn't give a nice experience when you wear it. It makes the whole watch feel cheap and poorly built, which is not the case. So yeah, basically this is where Orient cuts down the costs of the manufacturing of this watch, but really you cannot expect everything for $200. There are nice alternatives, especially the solid end link strap coat bracelets made specifically for this model. I will leave the link in the description down below if you're interested. It is really a shame that we cannot see it, but the movement used in this watch is an in-house Orient caliber F6922 automatic Haken and hand winding 22 jewel movement. It is actually a really big upgrade from the older Orient divers movements, which at least from my research were not that reliable. The accuracy was also off. This one however has a pretty nice stated accuracy rating from -15 to +25 seconds a day, which is rather normal for a movement like this. As you can see, the case back has a lot of different writings on it and also has a logo, which I'm not actually sure what it's supposed to symbolize. I'm guessing the Barracuda in some way, I just don't see it. It is a screw-on case back, which gives this watch a proper 200 meters of water resistance, so if you decide to take a light swim or even a proper dive, it will withstand it no problem. Lastly, I want to talk about the Lume. I'm not sure exactly what type of Lume Orient uses, but what I found is, though it might not be as strong as something like a steel dive watch, which uses C3 luminescence, it tends to stay up a lot longer. Don't get me wrong, it is still very strong and perfectly visible in the dark, but it doesn't have that punch that steel dive, for example, has. So now my final thoughts on this watch. You can probably see from the whole review that I really like this watch. I have been wanting it for a very long time, and when I finally got it, the only thing that disappointed me was the bracelet, as I kind of thought I might be able to wear it with the original bracelet, but that was not the case, so that is a bit sad. But overall, this watch just packs a punch with not only the beauty, which is really, it is something else, with the dial and the bezel matching perfectly. The design is one of the greatest in the market in my opinion, but it also has a great specification list for a rather modest price, if I may say so, and it comes from a reputable brand. So if you got a chance, I would highly recommend you to go with this watch. If you wear it with the correct band, it pretty much becomes a perfect watch, at least for me. So to end this, I will say that I don't think that you will be disappointed. So there you go, here's my full review on the Orient Kamasu. In my opinion, one of the best budget divers and even watches in general on the market that you can buy all day, every day. It has the looks, great build quality, the specifications are very good too. It comes from a reputable brand, so basically what more can you ask for? So if you would ask me if I recommend it, you probably know my answer by now. So if you're interested, as always, the link will be in the description down below. And if you like this video, please leave a like and also consider subscribing and hitting that little bell so you'll get notified when I upload a new video. And now thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.